that's not what I'm gonna do anymore. In 2021, I am going to do my best to focus on more positive stuff. I feel like we could all use that right now, couldn't we?
Okay, now we can have a little bit of fun. As a treat. But yeah, like I mentioned in the worst of 2020 list, 2020 as a year, musically at least, and like only musically, was pretty stellar if I'm being honest. It was a weird year that was basically impossible to track, but a lot of fantastic stuff came from almost every genre. Except metal. Metal actually had a bit of a slumpy year, like real talk. But no joke, there were great entries from rock, indie, folk, country, hip-hop, R&B, and even metal did have a few really big standouts, so come on, people, get out of my mentions about it. I don't care, shut up. If there was absolutely nothing else you could take comfort in about 2020, at least there were some pretty decent bops to be had. So, for the fun of it, like we do every year, let's just go over the top stuff that I heard throughout this miserable year and end things on a good note. This is only my personal list, based on my personal opinion, okay? I didn't get the chance to hear absolutely everything last year, and if something isn't on this list, or if it's in the place you wouldn't like or expect it to be, there's a lot of reasons that could have gone into that, okay? Maybe I didn't like it as much as everyone else did. Maybe my thoughts on a record changed as the year went on. Or maybe it's a globalist conspiracy to mildly annoy the masses into believing in corrupt opinions about the world in a program that gay Antifa youth protocols into the minds of the innocent. Reckoning by my brain pills! See this? See this shit? See this goofy shit? This is the kind of shit I'm trying to get away from in 2021. You know what I mean? Nobody wants this anymore. Nobody wants to deal with this. It's not funny. I'm sorry I went off on you, but people, this list is just my personal opinions, okay? Please don't treat them like anything more than that. Cool. Honorable mentions.
To sing the demon song.
Absolutely blissful gothic folk from the Tribulation guitarist here. Very sparse, very restrained, but absolutely gorgeous in composition and melody. A dark record that's not afraid to be just gorgeous and downright pretty in places. An album that's so peaceful while evoking such a bleak and dark tone was something that felt really appropriate in 2020, not gonna lie. If you need good, chill music that's on a bit of the dark side, this was definitely an unexpected diamond in the rough. Moody, soothing, black as all night. Jonathan Holton is a guy that truly gets this particular kind of atmospheric dark melody. And you know what? It does melancholy right. Again, fitting for 2020. Another record in 2020 that just completely came out of nowhere and surprised the hell out of me, and another super chill, super relaxing, super mellow record. Can't imagine why I would have wanted to gravitate towards that vibe last year. But unlike Songs from Another Place, this was the exact opposite feel. That album was darkness, this one is pure sunshine. A sincerely pleasant mix of chiptune, pop punk, and Midwestern emo. It was one of the few records I listened to last summer that actually felt like a summer record. Again, a feat made doubly hard by the circumstances. I'll try to lay off the quarantine jokes, but people, that's gonna be a hard task. It really is. Toilet paper, am I right? But again, an interesting blend of a lot of different styles that you wouldn't necessarily think would blend well together, but our man made it happen, and this was a very nice surprise. Definitely worth digging up.
Twisted world where artists.
You know, I have to admit, this wasn't actually a record I revisited a ton throughout the year, but it resolutely stayed on my best list. And when I was digging it up again to go over finals, I wasn't exactly sure what it was that appealed to me so much about this record. But then I put it on again and was like,
Poetry is illegal unless you're under the underground.
oh yeah, jazz! This was a hip-hop record that was just so uniquely poetic, I guess is the word I'm looking for. Like, it isn't so much an standard hip-hop album as it is like beatnik style, like slam poetry, you know? So I understand some of the complaints that kind of came along with this. My man might have laid it on a little thick for this record, but honestly, that's an aesthetic that never really bothered me. I totally love that coffee shop, jazz bar kind of appeal to it, and the personal and heartfelt lyrics behind this one. You know, that just made me want to, you know, snap along. Yeah. What's up, man? Far out. Yeah. Wicked. Can I get my espresso topped off, my man? Yeah. Yeah, what's up? What's up? Yeah. Yeah, God, I miss coffee shops. I'm sorry, but I'm still gonna say it. This album being released in pieces was completely arbitrary. But like, who cares? Really, at this point, who even cares? The final product, as a whole at least, was still a very solid piece of work. Probably the most vulnerable and honest Hayley's ever been with us. Not that she was ever insincere or anything, but this album really showed us the truly dark and ugly side that depression and living in the spotlight can bring about. It was an album of true and raw feeling pain, and you can feel every inch of it on this thing. The promotion for this one may have been terrible, but hey, once we actually got the damn thing, it hit super hard. Definitely another recommended release. You know, if I'm being honest, this isn't really that great of a Touche Amore record. Hot take? I don't know. It is honestly just kind of a step down from the brilliant and painful Stage 4, and I'd argue it's maybe not even as good as their previous record to that one, if survived by. I don't know, if anything, this record is a bit more of a back to basics approach for them, but Touche Amore, I don't know, what can I say? I've always really loved what this band does. I love their approach to post-hardcore, and Jeremy Bolm's skill as a screamer and as a lyricist is just a beautiful sight to behold. The dude is very talented. Even if this album is a little bit scatterbrained at times, it was still a very solid outing. It meets their high expectations. It has really wicked slamming moments and very soothing and calming melodies, and I don't know, maybe I'm just a great big fucking mark for this band. I don't know, judge me if you wanna, but I had a lot of fun with this record, and hey, any year where Touche Amore decides to make an appearance is okay in my book.
On a night like this, I'm on the lookout for anything that moves crimson.
So this was actually my first encounter with Destroyer. I know I have a lot of catching up to do, but this thing just stuck to me as the year kept rambling on. A very mid-90s feeling record, directly inspired by trip-hop and space-pop of the era. But Dan Behar's understated and very pointed delivery, along with his loose and freeform approach to lyricism, just makes it all work so splendidly well. Not to mention some of the lovely, serene mixing on this thing. A very well mastered record. Again, another album of strange contrasts. It's an album full of violent imagery. It's also very soothing and settling in its own morbid way. From what I'm led to believe, this isn't even really all that great of a Destroyer record, at least by their own standards, which means, yeah, I've totally got some digging to do. in a year where Deftones themselves actually released a really damn good record, spoiler alert, I guess, a band that's taking so many direct pages out of their 90s nu metal era playbook really shouldn't hit as hard as this record does, but man, what can I say? It just absolutely resonated with me. Another 90s throwback that does do something very different, or at least it feels different. Like Deftones themselves, these guys clearly understand that the best hardcore out there doesn't stick super rigidly to the formula. And props to these guys, they certainly found their own unique way to approach the genre. Well, I say that. I'm sorry, listening to this band, I just cannot get early Deftones out of my head, and I'm sure most of you will probably feel the same way. But hey, even Deftones aren't really making this particular kind of sound anymore, so props where they're due. Good stuff. Just don't keep remaking Around the Fur over and over again. That's got a shelf life, my dudes. You know, every year about 1,000 metalcore acts come across my desk, and like 999 of them all sound the damn same, and I start to wonder, you know, maybe I just don't like this genre anymore. You know, maybe I've outgrown it. Maybe this just isn't my thing. But then a band like Sharp Tooth will come along and... Okay, fine, I'm not out yet. I guess there's still some really, really good shit in this genre, sure. And Sharp Tooth is actually an excellent name for this band because that is exactly what they are. Sharp, with hooks and riffs that absolutely slice through the mix, and lyrics and vocals that are mauling little bits of pertinent social commentary. Yeah, this is really legit. Heavy, aggressive, punchy, thoughtful when it needs to be, and even comical in ways that don't feel overwrought or pretentious. It's an album that, in more ways than one, has just the right kind of bite to it. Yes, I realize these puns are war crimes. Take it as like extra endorsement coming out of me. It takes a lot, and I mean a lot, for a metalcore band to get on the positive side of my recommendations list. So the fact that these guys are doing something so new and so interesting in a genre that's so painfully stale, real talk, get out of my mention. That should just say something right there. Any metalcore record that gets to my jaded ass, it's worth at least one spin, people.
Sometimes I wish I liked drinking. Sometimes I wish I liked...
Again, another gorgeous, blissful, and pretty as all hell record that I needed to hear in a year like 2020. Yeah, if you wanted to be just the biggest cock in the universe, you could say that the relentless depression brought on by quarantine actively made me seek out more relaxing and chill stuff like this. But A, who the hell can't say that? And B, even in a non-sucky year, this would have hit pretty hard with me. This was my first year actively tackling country, and while I admit there was a lot from this genre in particular I never quite got around to, and some stuff I really wish I hadn't gotten around to, this was an early highlight in the year that I just kept revisiting. I mean, if you wanted to, you could say this record was a little on the trite and fluffy side. Like, I feel like my mom would like this album equally as much as I would, and holy shit, I am officially old. You know what? Fuck it. It was sweet, serene, and genuinely romantic feeling. It's a record that feels like spending the night laying in a meadow full of fireflies and gorgeous stars hanging over your head, with your partner all cuddled up to you real tight under the beautiful moonlight. Jesus Christ, I really have become my mother. Look, regardless of any of that, a wonderful, blissful, great as hell country record. One of my favorite country releases for the year.
Suicide, you and I drove for miles.
Like I said in the last Femi, I'm hyper pop trash now, there's no saving me.
Beat the shit out of me, daddy.
But this was another album that just hit particularly hard, specifically because of the year it was made in. A quarantine record that just defined the quarantine, didn't it? It was a perfect reflection of what a lot of us were going through during that time. Depressed, isolated, profoundly sad, and lonely to the point of existential explosion. I don't know, man, isn't hyperpop supposed to be all memey and 100 gex and like doofy shit? I'm not ready to feel stuff in this genre yet. But Charlie just got what made the quarantine suck so bad, and she was able to put that into words and melodies very damn effectively. I kind of hate that I only have room for this record to be in my honorable mentions. That does kind of suck, but it's one of those records that hit so hard that it was almost painful to come back to, you know what I mean? It's going to be interesting looking back on this one as the years progress and some kind of normalcy comes back to the world. But yeah, for at least this specific year, this was precisely how I was feeling. Woof. And that's the honorable mentions. God damn it, now I'm depressed. So let's go ahead and get into the list proper with number 20. Whew, man. Deftones had such a good year, even their knockoffs did well. Between this and Higher Power, man, I just don't know what it was, but bands evoking that lofty, airy, nu metal adjacent sound got a lot of traction in 2020, and these guys were no exception. Like, goddamn, what a heavy, domineering, punishing ass record. One of the heaviest of the entire year, but also a record that's punctuated and lifted higher by its slower, more elegant and blissful melodies. Another record whose sharp and vicious moments were deeply contradicted by its ability to lull you into this weird kind of peace and relaxation. But it just worked so goddamn well. I don't know, even if your brain had trouble comprehending it, you were still along for the ride. The heaviest kind of heavy, the most peaceful kind of peaceful. And to evoke both of these styles so effortlessly, man, these guys definitely have a bright future ahead of them. They are certainly worth keeping an eye on, at least. Very good stuff. Again, even the bands that weren't Deftones had good Deftones years. Like, shit. Number 19. Can I even be relied on for my opinions on Trivium? Y'all know me, I am a huge dork for these guys. So of course I was gonna put this on here for sure. But, you know, a lot of people were singing the praises of their last record, The Sin in the Sentence, 3 years ago, and make no doubt, that ended up being one of their best records ever. That one was gonna be a really hard one to follow up, so when this one came around, I was pretty shocked that it was at least most of the way to, you know, measuring up to it. Another slamming and intense record full of rich thrash breakdowns, soaring and complex solo work, and pertinent, well thought out lyrics that, look, people are way more intelligent than they have to be, especially for this genre, but Trivium did it yet again. And you know, I understand some of the flack that Trivium does get. They're too mainstream these days. They're too, you know, by the books. You know, this is exactly what you'd expect a thrash band. And they're a little rote and standard, but people, I don't know, they got to the top of that mountain by legit means and with legit tunes. So, I don't know, as long as the music is good, I don't give a fuck. And Trivium, they brought the tunes again, man, so what the hell do we have to complain about? Another... Number 18. You know, 2020 was the year where I had to stop taking individual album requests For several reasons, honestly. YouTube's algorithm changed to not really favor those type of videos. I was working too hard on them and burning myself out big time. But one of the bigger reasons was that people would request these little micro bands, as I call them. You know, they would just pick a band that only had like so many subs or listens or whatever, thinking that they'd found the next Moron Police or whatever. Sometimes that would happen and that was always cool, but like, 90% of the time, people would show up with these little micro bands and it would be like, okay, they exist. What do you want, a cookie? And I was really afraid that was what I had with Slutface over here, but their crazy, charming approach to melodies and lyrics, and their hooks as infectious as coke. I am not even gonna make that joke. Really, dude? This was a record that I found mildly charming at first and figured I'd forget about as 2020 went on, but if anything, I kept coming back to this record over and over and over again. This was a slow boil, but man, once it started roiling, it really stuck with me. One of the best pop punk adjacent kind of albums of the year. Seriously, if you listen to this one and thought, yeah, okay, whatever, earlier in the year, like I kind of did, give it another shot, because like this one kept growing on me. There's just so much charm, so much character and personality on display here. This is a genuinely great band. And remember, it is pronounced Slutface. I'm not sure that's how the crossed out O actually works, but that's what they want to call themselves, so, you know, show the proper respect. Respect your fellow sluts.
Number 17.
You know, again, like with Touche Amore, I get it if you're a little about this pick. I wouldn't even say this is the best PTH record we've ever gotten, you know what I mean? Like, but this is an instance where the band's legacy definitely works against them. Protest the Hero have written some records so insanely fantastic. This band has some of the best records that modern prog metal has ever produced. Seriously, Stan Volition. But I thought they still did an absolutely wonderful job on this. Roddy Walker's new approach to singing and screaming is interesting, and I'm happy he was able to recover from that vocal blowout in 2018. He did a great job bouncing back from that. And lyrically, this album centering around America and its terrible tendency to rewrite its own history. Yeah, pertinent topic that. But to also show that one of America's greatest strengths is its tenacity and grit that helps keep it together in times of... okay, maybe that message didn't hit quite as hard this year. Okay, I get why this album was so divisive, like damn. But hey, in a year where absolutely everything about this goddamn country just sucked, this was a nice little reminder that hey, even if we got problems, like a lot of fucking problems, you know what? We got the strength to work it out, and we can make it happen. Again, such a weird topic for them to tackle, considering they're Canadian, but hey, whatever, man. The music still slapped. That's worth it in my book.
Number 16.
I have been listening to this record for like a month straight, and I still don't know what the hell it is. It's a mix of like R&B and soul, but also like 90s proto-experimental alt-rock, and even that's pollinated by traces of early 2000s pop and indie rock. It's like if Amnesiac, the Radiohead album, crashed into the back of a semi-truck full of Oasis's best records and caught fire in the shape of early D'Angelo, but also early Coldplay, like Rush of Blood to the Head Coldplay. They're just standing on the side of the road, rubbernecking the whole thing, and like most of the early 90s Brit pop explosion bands like Pulp and Suede are also just kind of there hanging out and contributing this stuff, and this metaphor has completely left the goddamn plot. It's one of those records that's a blend of so many different genres and styles, but somehow, through some unique fucking magic, it still remains uniquely original without sounding confused or disoriented or messy. It's genuinely one of those records you should really just hear for yourself in order to see what the hell's going on here. Because I sure as hell ain't good at describing it. Phenomenal debut, and yeah, you better believe I'll be keeping my eye on Bartees going forward. Bartees, am I don't know, y'all know I never pronounce anything right. Bartleby!
Number 15.
Again, spoiler alert. But yeah, this was a damn good year for the Deftones. With one small exception. But yeah, they absolutely killed it again with Ohms. Another slamming and absolutely just crazy ass record. And one of the outright loftiest things they've ever made. The scope and sheer size of this record is a sight to behold. Not since Diamond Eyes has this band ever expanded so much on one release like this. I may have said that metal had a slumpy year. In real talk, it actually kind of did, but that is a hard case to make when records like this came out and just blew socks off all across the board. Even then, the fact that it only gets as high as number 15, I don't know, I'm just saying. Another great late period release from these guys, and this is gonna be another hard one for them to top, but I look forward to seeing them try. Not really much more I can say here. Seriously, Steven, cut that stupid shit out. I know you are smarter than this, dude.
Number 14.
God, people, I hate to sound like a broken record at this point, but again, if you wanted to go airy and atmospheric with your heavy rock, this was the year to do it. A great deal of the bands that ended up making my list for this year were those that could capture a specific kind of relaxing floatiness, and man, that is probably one of the best adjectives I could use to describe Svalbard here. Floaty, rich, and smooth. But also vicious and slamcore and crazy and brah. Most of the articles I dug up about these guys described them as hardcore, and while I do kinda see that in there, at least like a post-hardcore style sound, like a Modern Life is War, or a heavier Moments of La Dispute kind of hardcore, I guess, but it's also got like a certain almost black metal edge to it that a lot of post-hardcore doesn't have. Again, it's amazing how a group like this can create an album that's heavy and pounding and menacing while still maintaining a trademark sense of serenity that is like all their own. God damn, whatever genre you want to call this record, it absolutely hit all the right buttons for me in 2020. Again, yeah, I kinda tended to gravitate towards the stuff that was a bit on the more soothing and mellow side. I don't know, if you want the heavy shit from me this year, fuck off, it was 2020, man. But still, like, regardless, people, this was just a good record all around.
Number 13.
What can I say? This one grew on me. I'll bet this is a bit of a surprise, especially given my original review was kinda Again, another reason why I'm just so glad I'm not doing new release reviews anymore. People, I know you guys kind of liked those vids, but 1 to 7 days is just not enough time to get a real concrete opinion on a record, especially when you're a flighty ass bitch like me. But yeah, no, the more I sat with this record, the more I spun it, the more I just grew to absolutely love it. And you know, I honestly thought I'd never see the day. I'm not really a fan of any of Halsey's previous work. I always found her performances to be nothing special, and her lyrics too precious and at times esoteric for me to really give a shit. But by opening up and just allowing herself to be just raw, gritty, and real on this record, we saw a completely new side to her that was fresh and shocking and like, girl, damn, where have you been hiding this? An album that, again, the more I sat with it, the more that score just kept climbing up and climbing up and climbing up until it ended here. Again, never trust the first impression because, man, the best records are the ones that really grow and germinate with you over time. Again, I'm so happy I'm not doing new release reviews anymore. Thank you all for your patience and for enjoying the Fimmies and watching those. Honestly, I feel like that's a better approach to handling new releases on this channel. It's better for my health.
Number 12.
Whew, man, this one took too long to get to us, eh? After Pop Psychology, I was aching, pleading, begging for some new Neon Trees music, but the band just kinda up and disappeared for a while there. A good 6 years they left us. And not that they were completely silent. Again, Tyler Green in particular released a very stellar solo record during that time. A lot of people slept on that, I'm just saying. But when this record finally did come along, man, it was good to see them back, and surprising to see them tackle such a dark direction. Again, like Manic, this is a record that hits particularly hard because of how raw, naked, and ugly the emotion on display is here. But again, given what Tyler Green has been through over the past few years, the way he lays everything out on this album is just, man, you just feel every word he sings, you know? It's not an easy listen lyrically, by any means, but it is still very poignant and a very impactful record. More impactful than even I would have given these guys credit for. I mean, they're Neon Trees, you know? It's pop, it's shiny, it's fun, it's good times. I don't know, if you pitched a dark Neon Trees album to me, I probably would have been like, oh, really? But hey, if anything, this record proves that these guys have way more range than I think a lot of us were willing to give them credit for having. Just another fantastic record of the year. Please, pretty please, don't wait quite so long for the next one. I'm begging y'all here.
Number 11.
Every kid in cutoffs could be you.
Man, Jason Isbell is just one of the best goddamn country artists out there right now. Seriously, the guy has everything. Amazing instrumentation and composition, soulful, searing, and relevant lyrics and themes, and just that gorgeous buttery voice of his. It makes an already smooth cocktail go down like, oh, like absolute fucking... I had an analogy there and I lost it. It's good. And Reunions is one of the best records he's ever done with the 400 unit. I'm still, you know, kind of learning how to country over here. I'm still green. And in 2020, I honestly heard more than a few records that, made me wonder if this was a good idea. Like I said in the last video, when this genre wants to suck, holy God, can it suck. But the artists who are out there laying down the good stuff, lay down stuff so goddamn wonderful that you are doing yourself a sincere disservice if you don't give them a try. Yes, I know, okay? I used to be that guy. Country sucks, it's just for rednecks and it's all herpy-derpy beer and Toby Keith. People, I'm telling you from experience here, when you write off an entire genre like that, you miss stuff like this. Another brilliant, fantastic, wonderful record that I can recommend as a pleb to country to other country plebs who may want to try to understand what modern country can be like at its best. Like, people, if you miss out on this record, you're running with your eyes closed. What else can I tell you? Again, yes, these puns are war crimes. I never said I was innocent.
Number 10.
See, one thing I always hated about being the rock critic back in the day was that everyone just assumed I was one of those rock boys, you know, the guys who only listen to rock and roll is the only genre out there, rock and roll, trooper rock and roll every day and all the time. And I wasn't. I never was. Even at my rockiest, I was never that guy. I listened to other stuff all the time. I have never been Mr. Legit Rock Boy, I've always listened to other shit. You projected your realness onto me. I was always a poser. I mean, y'all used to assume I was straight too. Don't act like you know me. But yeah, I've always listened to other genres, and to be real, I've always been a fan of The Weeknd stuff. Since at least around 2015, 2016, he's such a fantastic performer and singer, and the man just has a certain charisma that cannot be denied. He's got this skeezy, scuzzy kind of vibe to him that can be off-putting, I do understand. To me, it adds like a sinister, forbidden kind of appeal. And this record was like forbidden fruit of the sweetest kind. An album that truly understands 80s electronica, pop, and R&B. It's practically a masterclass on the subject. And it's a record that, you know, just feels, again, skeezy in that weirdly appealing way. This is the kind of record that's trying to convince you to do a line and get in its Ferrari and go speeding downtown at 150 miles an hour. But the music is so good and it's so charming and appealing and seductive that you're like, okay. Oh my god, let's go hit some cops!
Number 9.
I was earnestly expecting good things to come out of Biba Doobie, but for her to spin things off in such a drastically different direction was not a move I think anyone else could have really seen coming. To think it would work so damn well though, like that surprised even me. Another record in 2020 that threw back to the past, but again, did it with such a great style and identity that it didn't feel overwrought or worn out. This one moved in more of a 90s alternative, college rockish kind of direction, but it's that specific kind of alternative rock that we just didn't get enough of back in the day, or at least stuff that was of this high quality caliber. It's that kind of thick and chunky girl power rock that artists like Liz Phair and Juliana Hatfield perfected back in the day. But a record like this, it feels like Liz Phair at her grittiest and most abrasive. If she also happened to really be into that cutie shit, oh fuck off, y'all know I'm a sucker for that cutie shit. And B's absolutely adorable and sweet soprano, just it was like the cherry on top, you know? I get that, again, this is gonna be one of those records that isn't everyone's cup of tea, but man, oh man, did this appeal to my taste specifically. I loved the shit out of this record, and you know what? It's my list, so go ahead and be mad. Cutie shit for president. Fuck you.
Number 8.
Okay, can I just get the mandatory little blurb about this record out of the way here? No, it's not as good as their last 2 records. Yes, we know. Every motherfucker and their goddamn dog has been saying that about this record. I get it. And it's not even like I wholeheartedly disagree. Like, no, this isn't as good as their last 2 records. In fact, this might be the weakest record they've released to date, if I'm being completely honest. The band's goofy streak is starting to get the better of them, and I damn well know the band is capable of doing better than this. But people, the record was still really good. I mean, yes, I can acknowledge that the band is probably starting to develop a few bad habits, and that their style is beginning to produce diminishing returns. Yeah, sure, but I mean, even with that, this record was just packed full of really fun jams. Like, chill, dude. I don't know, even if it feels a little lesser overall, the tunes were still an absolute riot. Even the lyrics aren't that bad necessarily if you're willing to turn your brain off a little. I'm just saying, Andrew WK makes a doofy album and you all soak your shorts, but Idols does it and oh, suddenly they're too good to be about the rabble. Oh, I see how it is. This maybe wasn't the record that a lot of Idols fans really wanted out of them, but I don't know, this was still a lot of fun, and Idols is genuinely shaping up to be one of my favorite bands, and Ultramono was still a fun ride. I do understand where a lot of y'all's issues come from, but the record was still fun, it still was pertinent when it had to be, and you know, it's still full of great tracks that I kept coming back to over and over again. It's a record that left me with a great big goddamn smile on my face every time I listened to it, so you know, just relax. Kill him with kindness. You can do it!
Number 7.
I got chewed up, that shit fucked me up, so I'ma fuck you up, a kid called him.
Tattoos, haircuts, gold chains, anime. Tattoos, haircuts, gold chains, anime. Tattoos, 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 tattoos. You know, the records that really hit me the most this year tended to be either one of two things. The relaxing, soothing, mellowing stuff that helped bring me down from the relentless panic attacks the year brought on, or it was the stuff that was so open and vulnerable and achingly honest that it would honestly bring about the panic attacks all over. Again, vicious cycle that. Really? We're not gonna keep that take, are we? And this record, no joke, kinda did both to me. Open Mike Eagle's absolutely gorgeous choice in beats, and his distinct, warm, and very punctuated flow was an absolute balm. But then the lyrics to this one, like, ooh, damn, man. A very painful album about a very painful time. Divorce is an absolute miserable experience, no matter what brings it about, and this album really does a great job of capturing the sort of lost, shaky, world-destroying vibe that situation brings about. It's a record that conveys that special kind of loneliness, angst, and anxiety, but does it in such a rich, beautiful, and honest way that even if it's not an easy listen at times, I just could not stop coming back to it. It's gorgeous melodies and its real, visceral humanity just was what made me have so much respect for this album. Again, another one of my all-time favorite hip-hop releases in 2020. A very hard one to top for the year. Tattoos, 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 tattoos.
Number 6.
Again, spoiler alert, another record that just would not stop growing on me as I listened to it throughout the year. It's a goth pop record that is just my absolute favorite kind of goth. Pretty goth. Oh, it's basically just a dream pop record that's coated in black, and it just glistens. This album glistens like no other record I heard all year. Bright and sparkly melodies with the absolute perfect choices in synth tones, guitar hooks, and percussion. It reminds me of like the poppiest bits of The Cure with a dash of vaporwave from the last decade, and just like the teensiest bit of darkness style silliness. Yes, really. This was the most blissful record I heard all year. At least one that wasn't just a straight up pop release. It's dark and morbid and ghoulish in places, but it's also poetic and sultry and sexy and smooth and luscious and syrupy. And my God, listening to this thing on vinyl, my pussy is soaked! You know, I remember, in my initial review at least, being taken aback by some of the more silly moments this record had at first, but again, the more I sat with it, the more I realized, no, This is actually great. This adds to the weird, strange, twisted brilliance behind this record. Even if it doesn't look like something that'd be your thing, and I kind of get why. Like, ew. You need to at least give this one a shot. I bet it'll surprise you, and I bet it'll grow on you just like it did with me.
This carpet is ruined and I don't give a fuck!
Number 5.
Walking in the snow. Goddamn that motherfucker cold. Just got done walking in the snow. Goddamn that.
I mean, yup. I don't even really need to follow this one up, do I? I can basically just point to this record and say, yup. God damn. Records like this are why I'm so happy to be multi-genre now, because even by the pretty high standards that we tend to hold Run the Jewels up to, ooh, this one still just absolutely knocks it out of the park, dude. Sickening beats and samples and breakdowns, and some of the best flows that LP and Killer Mike have exhibited in their entire career. Fantastic and well-utilized guest features from people like Zach De La Rocha, Pharrell Williams, Mavis Staples, and even Josh Homme, of all people. And the lyrics on this one, people, RTJ has always been beyond killer when it comes to their lyricism, but songs like Just, Walking in the Snow, and Pulling the Pin, man, it really speaks to just how shitty 2020 was, when the fact that most of these songs were written in 2019, and yet they still turn out to be just as pertinent, if not more so, in the following year. Like, oh god damn. It was a record that perfectly illustrated that while yes, 2020 was a goddamn fuck mess of a year, it was ultimately the culmination of a lot of awful shit that had been piling up for us for years, if not decades now. I'm just happy I get the chance to talk about stuff like this, because if you haven't been listening to RTJ, I don't care if rap might not be something you're really into. Get on board with this and see what you've been missing. I mean, guys, this was one of the most pertinent and alarming and forceful and just immediate records of 2020. I mean, people just look at all these slave masters posing on your dollar. I'm sorry.
Number 4.
Subtlety is for the weak. Yeah, people, I straight up warned you Dua Lipa was going to be high on my list this year, and sure enough, here she is. In stereo, no less. Oh, this record, it was just so much fun. So much goddamn fun. And do you know how hard it was for a fun album to actually leave a mark in 2020? A lot of artists tried to write their doofy, happy little fun chime jams, but most of us were just like, shut the fuck up! Global pandemic, complete chaos, shit is too goddamn real, eat shit! I can't drink margaritas on the beach, Luke Bryan. I'll catch the goddamn plague and die! Fuck off! For Dua Lipa to make a fun, danceable, ultra groovy pop record that was still able to hit the way it did, despite all of this, really speaks to just how crazy talented this woman is. Another big throwback album, this time to 70s disco and 90s club music. This record had so much boogie, life, and pure, unfiltered vitality to it that even in a year where absolutely no one was able to dance, Lipa still was able to get a legit groove out of all of us, you know? Like, if this record hadn't been released in an absolute dumpster fire, it would have slayed across the board, I'm telling you people. The fact that it was still able to kick this much ass in spite of everything? Yeah, you look out for Dupa when she finally does drop something that isn't in a shit garbage fuck year. Like, this girl is going to own our bitch asses. Just look out, y'all.
Number 3.
I don't know if displaying my albums in the year like this was a good idea. So many spoilers. Just right there in the open. But again, people, this is a hard lesson to have to learn. I know, because I had to learn it my own damn self, but I want to try to plant this into your head very firmly. Country isn't all that bad. In fact, when it shines, holy shit, does it shine hard. And no country record shone brighter for me than Ruston Kelly's sophomore effort here. Funny story, but it was actually Ruston Kelly himself who actually helped break that initial barrier into getting into country for me. His last record, Dying Star, was an absolutely ravishing little piece of melancholia and triumph, and his follow-up here is no less soul-destroying and achingly beautiful. It's an album about overcoming addiction, fighting battles with your demons, and occasionally losing, about the inevitability of mortality and how it'll come to claim us all at some point, and how through it all, through every little bit of it, you still possess the strength, the wisdom, and the pride to say, hallelujah anyway. No lie, it was a hard-fought battle for my top spot this year, and I feel bad that I can only bump this one up to number 3, because this album deserves all of the praise that it's getting and more. And if I was still in my all country is stupid, idiot, dumb boy mindset, you know, I would have missed this record, and it would have been a downright crime. Yes, lots of bad country exists. Lots of bad rock exists. Every genre has lots of crappy music in it. Except ska. Ska is perfect and beautiful, please never change. Records like this are proof that you should not throw the baby out with the bathwater, that even if you despise country, even if it's your least favorite genre, it was mine too once upon a time, and the music this man has put out helped me, again, break through all those barriers and prejudices I had, so I am going to strongly recommend you at least try to give it a shot, because people, man, records this beautiful, man, they don't come around every day, you know? I don't even have a joke at the end, just like, Stan Ruston Kelly?
Number 2.
Again, I warned y'all. I warned y'all about Dua Lipa, but I warned you even more about Rina here, and was I lying? But people, good God, how could I even deny this? This record is such an expansive pop record. It's so expansive, I do not feel comfortable at all even labeling it a pop record, because Sawayama, my God, she just dips her hands into so many different genres, styles, and approaches here. I can't classify this as anything because it's part pop, it's part disco, it's part R&B, it's part alternative, it's part grunge, it's part nu metal. Did I stutter? Yes, nu metal. Rina is just an absolutely brilliant melody crafter, and in a year where a lot of artists came out of the woodwork blending and melding and kind of fusing genres together into these completely unrecognizable new things in interesting and exciting ways, in a year where a lot of people stood out by doing exactly that, Sawayama came along and smacked the wheel out of everyone's hands and said, "Get away from that, let me show you how to do this properly." No, shut the fuck up. I got this. Shut the fuck up. Just an absolutely mind-blowing kind of record here. And you know, Rina, again, I hate even using the term, for a pop star to put this much effort into something like this, to be this experimental and bold and just out there, man, she really brought absolutely everything to the table on this record, and it shows. Again, another record that makes me so glad I went multi-genre. Because again, if you're the kind of person who just shrugs off every pop record because blah, 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 radio bullshit, well, I don't even think this one counts. Like, if you shoved this one off, not only did you miss good pop, you missed some good metal, you missed some good alternative, you missed some damn fine fucking everything, but B, also because, I mean, Raina is just out here killing it, and you owe it to yourself to see what she's out here doing. Just brilliant music. No matter what you want to call it, no matter what you want to try to incorrectly classify this, it's just absolutely brilliant music at the end of the day. And it hurts like hell that I can't give it number one. It really does, but oh, people, you know, the number one record, the number one thing in 2020, you and I both know that that top spot belongs to one and only one thing.
Number one.
It's not WAP, I promise. I'm kidding. This is a joke. I'm just playing with you people. Look, I'll be real with you. I just wanted to throw this up here just so I could watch the fuckboys cry. We're doing a live premiere and I just wanted to see the comments. I just wanted to see, like, oh my god, like this guy. Oh, look at this little piss baby. Just, oh, come on, man. Oh, and this dude, oh, come on. Like with your, I can't believe Crash would, yes I would. Oh, look at this guy. Oh my god. Oh, you need Jesus. You need Jesus with that dumb fuckboy shit. You need the gospel. You need the gospel. You need a bit of the... From that sweet, glorious, musty, great, good gospel of that wet ass pussy. Do God's children have a wet ass pussy this evening? Can I get a wop wop? Can I get a wop wop from God's whopping children? You wretched fuckboy sinners need to take a page out of the good book from Meat Flaps 3:16. The good Lord did say unto God's people, spell the alphabet. Can I get a wop wop? Can I get a wop wop? Can I get one more wop wop to close out 2020, good people? Hey, fucking man, and wop fucking wop. Yeah, number one is Spanish love songs. I mean, people, if there was one album that just defined the year, any record that you could point to and say, this is what 2020 felt like, any album that generations from now, when our children and our grandchildren ask us what it was like to live during that miserable, wretched time where late-stage capitalism completely butt-fucked our hopes and dreams, where every motherfucker who promised our generation a better life basically ran out as soon as the check cleared, where there was little to any hope that any of our problems were gonna get any better, and we were just gonna have to tough our way through it and pray that either a stroke of good luck we weren't due to get would pop in to save us, or a Hail Mary prayer for some kind of redemption would come through, or just have the raw, unfettered hope that we possessed the sheer force of will to not let everything around us drag us down into the abyss. Well, the first thing I would say is, goddamn, children and grandchildren, y'all need to lighten the fuck up, Jesus. But then you would point directly to this record and say, yeah, pretty much that. You could say a record like this was almost clairvoyant in how accurately it was able to predict the mood for 2020. But people, real talk, it didn't have to predict anything. This album didn't just happen to guess that things were gonna turn to shit this year. That was just, for lack of a better phrase, excellent timing. This record, just like RTJ4, basically surmised that the problems we're facing have been building on the horizon for years, if not decades now. They've been building since Reagan's deregulation, since 9/11 convinced us that investing billions of dollars into defense instead of putting it back into our communities and our own environments was the only safe thing to do, since the Great Recession of the late 2000s, since the housing market crash that left an entire generation with a picked clean carcass of a market to try and build careers and lives from. It's been building and building and building on the horizon for decades now. But I am kind of making this album sound like an economics lesson, and I might be projecting just a tiny bit here. At the end of the day, it's a record that can readily admit that, yeah, shit is bad, shit is really, really bad, and that it just didn't happen overnight. We've been getting fucked over as a generation for decades now. Many of us have been fucked over so bad we don't even know what not being fucked over feels like. It's been a long, hard, achingly painful journey for all of us. But god damn it, we are still here. Through thick and thin, we've been able to kick out of every body slam life has thrown at us so far, and we're still making it happen in spite of everything. That's the thing about this record. It's bleak, it's dire, it's an all too real reflection of what our generation is struggling through right now. And if you're of a certain age, so much of the lyrics on this thing aren't just metaphors or pretty stories. They are your own life story, being broke and not being able to find a job, having to live with your parents because literally no other option exists outside of homelessness, watching your friends die off young because they couldn't find a goddamn scrap of anything to help save themselves or make their lives better in any meaningful way. You better fucking believe we've lived that. It's an album that hits so hard because goddamn it is just all too relevant, but it sticks its landing by offering that thing that so many other albums that tackle topics like this don't. Hope. It's optimistic, it's not defeatist or self-pitying. It illustrates the real ass shit a lot of us have been through and just applauds us for having the strength to make it through. And even though it's a scary as hell looking road up ahead, this record firmly and proudly states, hey, you've got this. You've made it this far, you've survived, you've struggled, and I know shit is realer than real, but you got this, okay? We're gonna be alright. And in 2020, I think that was the message that so many of us needed to hear the most. You've got this. Yeah, it's bleak. Yeah, it's hard. And yeah, I can't even sit here and promise you that it's necessarily gonna get any better anytime soon, sure. But you got this. You've lived through everything up to this point. And you know what? What the hell is gonna stop you if none of that did? I mean, come on, man, you're stronger than you realize. This record helps illustrate that we still have the strength to make it through. We have the will, we have the knowledge, we have the ability, and hell, if nothing else, 2020 proved we have the raw goddamn stamina to face what could be coming over the horizon. This record offered a true, earnest, and meaningful lesson in optimism in a year where it was so easy to lose hope. For that reason, yeah, this is my album of 2020, just easy. From the moment I heard it, I just realized, yeah, nothing else was gonna top this. This is easily the album of 2020, if not the entire goddamn decade so far. Which kinda sucks because everybody else picked that one too. Shit, this isn't awkward. But hey, people, it's 2021. It's a new year. We got a lot of new stuff going on. And even with all the shit that's happened, we still have things to look forward to. We still have reasons to be hopeful for the future. Reasons to believe in ourselves and in one another. And you know what? I don't know about you, but in 2021, I am going to keep looking for those reasons. Because god damn it, we got this. Even if it's hard, even if it's sad, even if it's lonely, miserable, depressing, and so very crushing at times. People, we're not broken. Life's just very long. So you know what? Brave faces, everyone. I'll see y'all in 2021.